Let's get that out of here. That's better. Okay. All right. Let's get started. Welcome. This is our first class. Today we're going to talk about references and DEA numbers. References and DEA numbers. So that's what we have. References. Can I do this without making a mess? Yes, I can. There you go. Okay. So, let's start with references. Let's start with the USP. The USP is produced by an organization, oddly enough, called the USP, the United States Pharmacopoeia. And what they do is they establish standards. So drug manufacturers must manufacture to a quality standard consistent with USP, okay, in terms of purity of the product and solubility and those types of things. Okay. It comes in 3 volumes. We have volume 1 and volume 2. Volume 3 really is very, very technical. It's not useful for you practicing pharmacy in a hospital or in a store. It may be useful for people in manufacturing, but it's highly specific, so we don't refer to it. Drug information for the healthcare professional. This is exactly what it sounds like. It's information about many, many drugs. I can't say all, you never can, but it's a good, complete reference book that gives you information, and it's written in professional vocabulary. That's what makes it the volume for the healthcare professional. It's written in professional vocabulary. All right, so it basically looks like this, and the colors will change from year to year. And we'll talk at some point about chapter 7. Put this in here. Chapter 795 and chapter 797 related to compounding and the standards for compounding. Excuse me. And so you may have use for that. There's another volume called Advice for the Patient. You can see it's a little bit thinner. Probably doesn't include as much. However, it's written in language that patients can understand. So theoretically, you could take you could copy a page out of this and hand it to a patient and say, here, this is after you've explained it to them, because that's the kind of thing you should be doing. Give them something to take home, and as a technician, you would be able to give them something to take home. You have to be very careful as a technician about what you say to patients, because it may slide into over what is legally defined as counseling, and that's for pharmacists strictly. Okay, like I said, there are 3 volumes. The 3rd volume is again highly technical, highly scientific, and very, very specific. Okay. The USPDI is classified by drug category, and it's alphabetical. And so up in the front is anesthetics, and a little bit later is antibiotics and anti-inflammatories, and you get the idea. By drug classification, alphabetical. So that's how you would use it. That's how you would look things up in the USP. And you would more than likely use volume 1, but you may want to use a handout from volume 2. Okay, all right, fine. The next very popular and very well respected reference is drug facts and comparisons. Facts and comparisons is published in many different ways, by the way, as is the USP. You can get the USP online. You just subscribe to it and log into it and look it up when you need it. Now that would be what I would recommend. Now, that having been said, they're very expensive, very expensive. So you as an individual don't want one, but you want the place where you work to have one. Okay, they're not too expensive for a pharmacy to have one, but for an individual to have one, they're pretty much, unless you're just obsessive about that kind of thing, they're pretty much out of the ballpark for you. I don't know the price offhand, but they're over $500 easily. Okay? And again, highly unlikely, very much anymore, that you would see the book like this. Okay, more likely you would have a subscription to it, and you would log in using your password, and you would use it online, which is better because it's constantly updated. Once this thing is printed, by the time the ink dries, some of it's wrong, and it's still printed. So online is obviously a lot better. Drug facts and comparisons work the same way. This is a bound volume. You can see it looks like a regular book, right? Okay. It's a good clinical reference. It's also very big and very heavy. Okay. And it's a bound book. Okay. So again, like I said, once it's published, once you buy it, things start to change, and eventually the information gets to be inaccurate. They also publish it in a loose leaf format so that you can look things up in it. Same way, but once a month they'll send you new pages, and you take out 100, 200 pages and replace them with 100 or 200 new pages, and your book is updated for another month. Again, as a pharmacy intern, we did this, okay? Because at the time, this was as good as it got, update the information by replacing the pages. Well, that's all well, and it's fine. It's a good clinical reference. It puts drugs together by category. It has the advantage of giving you the ability to look at charts and compare similar drugs so that you can fine tune a recommendation. It gives you good information in table form frequently, which makes it easier to use and easier to reference. It's a good reference, and again, it's available as an online subscription, and that's a good thing because you don't have to keep updating it. It's updated for you by the publisher. So those are some good references. Those are the ones that you're most likely to use. These types of books, and there are several publishers of them. Practically all of our textbook publishers publish one or more of these, and they're quick and handy. They're useful. They've got good information in them. They're fairly clinically oriented, which means that the information is not just for reference and memorization, but it's useful. The disadvantage is they are printed books, although you can get one for your iPhone or your iPad, okay, and have it right there, and that would certainly be my recommendation. Why have this book? Why carry it? Why try to page through it when you can reference it and search it just off your phone or off your tablet? So they're useful. They're useful, and there are several of them, and I'm not going to try to differentiate between them. They're all pretty good. I don't really prefer one over the other. All right, so these are books, and you would reference them Oh, I do want to show you. This is the PDR. Many of you may have known of a PDR. You may have known somebody that had a PDR, physician's desk reference. Okay, now about the physician's desk reference. Well, first I'm going to say the information printed in the physician's desk reference is information that has been approved by the FDA to be printed about that drug. And it's the information in the package insert. I don't know if you've seen it any yet or not, but when a prescription bottle comes into a pharmacy, it's usually got a well-folded piece of paper glued to the side of it, and it unfolds like a roadmap. I mean, it just unfolds and unfolds and unfolds. And it's got the FDA approved information, the things that the manufacturer is allowed to say by the FDA, and it's considered to be part of the labeling of the drug. Okay, so if it's inaccurate, the drug is considered mislabeled, and it's subject to recall. So the physician's desk reference basically reprints the package insert, and the drugs are in here alphabetically by company. So you have to know the name of you'd have to know the name of the company that made the drug in order to find it, because it's alphabetically by company. There may be an index. But that's the idea anyway. All right. So that's a PDR. It's not necessarily very complete, because all the manufacturers whose drugs are listed in the PDR have paid the PDR to put their medication in the PDR. Okay. So again, the only thing that's in there is what the FDA says you can put in the package insert. So, yeah, it's not really wrong, but it's just a situation where commercially they make the information available to physicians or to anybody that chooses to pick one of these up. But it's all approved information, so the information's accurate. It just may not be very complete, and it may not be very clinically oriented, so it may not be the most useful thing. So people used to love these things before there were more books, and there are several pages in here. Oh, yeah, there they are. Several pages in here that have pictures of tablets and so forth. Again, that's all available. There are apps like Identidrug that you can use if you have a tablet or a capsule and you don't know what it is. You can look it up. You don't need to go paging through pages and pages of pictures anymore. Anyway, it's interesting, but the PDRs, as far as usefulness, is kind of a relic. The good news is it's really cheap to have it. Okay, because the money all comes from the manufacturers. Okay, so we did the reference books. This is a lab, and so you are going to have to make a video of yourself. It's safe, but there's nothing for you to do. You don't have any of these. I can't have you look stuff up and watch how you come up. That's just not available to you. So just indicating that you watched it somewhere in your, say, hi, this is so-and-so, and this is my week 1 lab submission, and indicate that you watched it by telling me that the USP volume 1 is green. Okay, and if you say that, then you get credit for that part of this lab. Okay, now the other thing that we have to talk about today is DEA numbers. Every physician, every practitioner authorized to prescribe controlled drugs has a DEA number. And in fact, every pharmacy has a DEA number. Let me clear my throat a minute. All right. So in other words, if you somehow are involved legally in the process of moving controlled substances from one place to another, you've got to have a DEA number. Okay, whether you be a physician, a nurse practitioner, a dentist, a veterinarian, whatever, okay, or a pharmacy, you've got to have a DEA number. All right, now I'm going to move the camera to get a shot of the blackboard because there are things that I can only explain by writing them for you. So hang in there. Here we go. Leave that alone. Turn this around. There you are, looking at you. Looking at you, looking at you, looking at you. Can somebody do a commercial like that? Blackboard, blackboard. Not bad. Okay, I'll take that. That's fine. Okay. Get one of these nice blue markers here. Here I am. Okay, here's the, this is going to work. This is going to work just fine. So, all right. A DEA number will start with A or B. And the actual reason why they'll start with, do this. Would this be better? I can't. It's awful. It won't stay. If I could just glue it. All right, well, move away over here. That's better. Ah, okay. Okay, not bad. You see, okay, yeah, so the DEA number will start with A or B. And the reason for that is eventually they gave out enough DEA numbers that they ran out of A and had to start with B. Okay. And then it'll have a another letter which will indicate the practitioner. Is it a physician? Is it a midwife? Is it a nurse practitioner, physician's assistant? You know, something like that. Something like that. I'm sorry. That's the A and so forth. All right. The second letter actually is the second initial. Let me see. So I'll make it an I for initial. Second letter is the second initial, in other words, the initial of the last name of that practitioner. All right, so that's simple enough. Okay, so Dr. Brown, you know, he would likely be AB, you know, and Dr. Turner, he may be younger. He would be BT. You get the idea. Okay. All right. And then there are 7 digits in the number. 7 numbers in the number. All right. I'm trying to get square on the board so you can see it better. So just for example, I'm going to make up a DEA number. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right. So you get a prescription in the drugstore, and it's got a DEA number on it that says DEA is AB 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. And this is Dr. Bullwinkle. So the B makes sense, right? That's okay. We're good so far. But how do you know about the number? All right, there's a formula for it, and this is what you do. You take the first number, the third number, and the fifth number, which in this case is 1, 3, 5, and you add them up. That's a 9. So far, so good, right? All right, and then you take the second number, the fourth number, and the 6th number, and you add them up, and that's a 12. And then you multiply that one times 2. So what you have is 9 times 2 is 24. I'm sorry, 12 times 2 is 24. 9 times 2 is not 24. 12 times 2 is 24. You add the 9 and the 24. 33. Then you look at the final digit of your sum there, which is 3, and you compare it to the 7th number of the DEA number. And if it matches, it's a good DEA number, or more than likely. Okay, at least if it matches, you didn't prove that it's not a good DEA number. So that's what you do. Add the first, third, and fifth. Add the second, fourth, and sixth. Multiply that sum by 2, and then add these two numbers together. This is a sum, this is a product, right? Add those two together and look at the last digit, and the last digit has to match the last digit of the DEA number. If it doesn't, it's a bad number. Okay, so that's how that works. Let's do another one, just for fun. Let's do this one. All right, that's a well-known phone number. Okay, maybe it's not well-known. It's my phone number. Okay, it's on the syllabus, so you already had it anyway. So let's add them up. 5, 6, and another 6.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna need
12 and
that
5
stuff
is
like
17.
ASAP so that I can get it.
Right, 11 and 6 is 17. Okay. 0, 9, 4, that's 13, times 2 equals 26. Add the 17 to the 26. Well, what do you know? I didn't know how that was going to turn out. I never used my phone number before. But this would check out as a good DEA number. Okay. So that's how that works. Okay, so we see that. Now again, it's a lab, and this is the first lab, and we're being a little bit low key on it, you know. But you do have to take a video of yourself and let me know you saw this, okay? And say this, okay? Say the number is 9 in the video, indicating that you watched it. Okay, so that should be good enough. That'll work for that. So that's the DEA number. That's how you check it. That's how you're sure that it works. That's what it means. That's what it is. That's what it's about, in other words. So there we have it. Okay. For the first lab, for the first week, that should be good. We'll get this ready, and I'll see you all the first week of October. Okay. Over and out.